Before Hamlet became one of the most famous stories ever told, there was a family trying to survive love, illness, and loss. Hamnet reimagines the life beyond the legend following the young William Shakespeare and his wife Agnes as they build a fragile, joyful world in 16th century England. Their days are filled with small miracles, children, creativity, quiet magic, until tragedy strikes and everything they thought was permanent begins to slip away. Rather than focusing on fame and legacy, Hamnet stays intimate, emotional, and deeply human. It's about grief that doesn't shout, love that lingers, and how loss can transform into art without fully healing the wound. The deeply grounded performances from Paul Mescal and Jesse Buckley, and directed with quiet restraint by Chloe Zhao, Hamlet feels less like a historical drama and more like a memory you weren't meant to see. Tender, devastating, and haunting long after it ends. Sometimes the greatest stories aren't born from ambition, they're born from heartbreak.
Welcome to the Burnt or Buttered podcast, where we talk about movies that we see each week. I'm Toast.
And I'm Stetson. And this week, we saw Hamnet. And we saw it at different times. We didn't see this movie together.
And we saw different movies.
Yeah, so I saw this movie with my girlfriend. And a little bit about me. I had a son about a year ago. And my girlfriend's pregnant again with another boy. Yeah, thank you. And so I feel like this movie hit on different levels of kind of where I'm at in life, where Shelby's at in her pregnancy, and kind of reuniting some memories that we haven't revisited, in a while, I guess. And then having the thought process of what we would do, in this scenario, and how we would deal with a loss.
Mm.
And so, yeah, pretty dang emotional for me.
And I'm a guy who has been single for years and has no children. I have a dog.
And how would you feel if Rusty died?
I'd be sad. Yeah. It wouldn't be a good year,
But with that being said, there was a lot about this movie that drew me in, outside of just the human nature of it. I really liked the cinematography of the movie in general. There were a lot of pulled back shots that, we were talking a little bit earlier, and you talking about it had like a little bit more of a horror film feel at the beginning. And I could definitely see that. And I think like some of those shots were from an outsider's perspective, like you're up in the trees looking down in a spot, or you're, kind of an onlooker looking, at a far distance away from what's happening. And I really enjoyed those. And there was a lot of long pauses in those moments where we're sitting as the viewer, just observing, the happenings, of the scene. And I thought that was really good in the way that we could just examine the emotions that were happening in that moment in time.
Yeah. Some shots that I specifically thought felt like a horror film, mixed with the sound design, which was a lot of like wind and thumping. Like it kind of felt like a heartbeat coming from that hole in the ground. And so they kept on going back to that hole and making it seem kind of ominous to me. Another example of a shot that I felt more like a horror film than what this is. was the shot when the two kids, Judith and Hamnet, are first introduced. They run up the stairs and then they're like looking for hats or whatever so they can trick their dad. It's a really cute scene. But the way that they shot it was so weird because they run up the stairs and it's this really nice shot of their two beds, right? And it's, what's the word where it's like, it's symmetrical.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a perfectly symmetrical shot. And then they move off screen and the camera doesn't follow them very fast. It sits there and slowly pans over. And that kind of reminded me of the scene in Nosferatu where she's walking with the lantern in the hallway and you just have this feeling like something is going to be off frame. As soon as you go over there, you know, you're going to see it. And it doesn't happen in Nosferatu or in this movie. You know, like both of these scenes end up being kind of innocuous. Like they're not that scary.
Well, and I see that and I kind of recognize that as the viewer, we're supposed to be a parent. We're supposed to be, you know, Agnes and or William Shakespeare. And I see that scene of them looking at the beds as like a parent. You come up and you see that all the time. You know, you're like, you see that bed and you see that frame and you see that shot multiple other times throughout the movie where you see it when she gets sick, when they're waking up, he runs up. It's that exact shot again when he's
tons of symmetrical shots. Yeah.
And then you see it again when Hamnet dies and the bed is taken away and it's just one bed now, Judith's bed there. And then you see it again when they're going to a new home and Agnes is, you know, not wanting to leave the memory of this spot is where my boy was alive. And I think that was kind of the first interaction that we have with Judith and Hamnet, and we're establishing like this is the memory of Hamnet. And so to me, it didn't feel like haunting or horror-ish. It was more so like I'm ingraining in my brain this scene, you know, as like this is what these two represent.
So for me, it wasn't the shot itself; it was the camera movement. That's what made it feel horror-ish to me. But there were a few other things, like the sound design in that first hour specifically felt, and it is supposed to be like foreshadowing, I think. Yeah. But it made me anxious for that whole first like hour and a half leading up to Hamnet dying.
I definitely recognized it. I recognized the wind and I recognized, you know, the score in itself. And to me, it felt very much like the sounds that you would experience if you were them, you know, like in the 15th, 19th century, there's really no music. There's nothing like you're just
really natural.
You're just alone with your thoughts, you know, in a lot of it. And that's what I kind of gathered from it. Because I remember having the thought in the movie theater of, I'm just hearing there hasn't been any score for a while.
Yeah.
Like it's just natural noises. It's just wind. It's just leaves rustling. It's just, you know.
But it wasn't just that, because the way that they were using it was like the wind. It wasn't just, you know, it was like, it was like a breath or a heartbeat. Like it was unnerving for that whole first hour.
I didn't recognize that. I was surprised by the pacing of the first hour, and really establishing the family. It took a long time to get to kids, which, looking back at it, I truly think that this movie is more about the parents than about anyone else. You know, it's about their love and their transition, and Agnes especially, I think the whole movie is more about her than anyone else. Like, and to the fact of we don't hear William Shakespeare's name until they go to England, and we hear it for the very first time from Bartholomew asking. Mm-hmm. And that was like a very interesting moment for me, because you're not seeing William Shakespeare as William Shakespeare the entire time. Like, you don't recognize him as this great playmaker.
Yeah.
But it also gives like a lot of respect to Agnes, like seeing something in him that she knew he needed. And him as well, knowing that there's something in me that I have to accomplish, that I have to do, even though it might pain me to leave my family, to leave these things. Like, I want them to be with me, but also I respect my wife and the things that she values and what she wants.
Yeah.
And I thought that dynamic was really interesting, that they gave each other enough room. But also I feel like there was a ton of resentment from Agnes's side to Shakespeare, William Shakespeare, until, we have the grand climax of her seeing Hamlet.
Yeah. And to your point about this more being a story about Agnes rather than Shakespeare, I think that they've made some mistakes in marketing. Because she is the lead actress, and obviously he is also a lead, but it is definitely more from her point of view. He's more of an ancillary character, and so I think that they've made some mistakes in marketing as far as that goes, because they're also, when I was reading synopsis today, all of the synopsis start with after the death of Hamnet, and that's not this movie. This movie starts well before that. And that is kind of the climax, but there's so much before and after that,
Yeah, I agree. I think that the marketing is pulling from kind of keywords that get you interested, because I went into it expecting us to see an established family at the very beginning, Hamnet dying, and then the majority of the movie is processing the grief of Hamnet.
Yeah.
With that being said, like, I think that this version in my mind is better than that version that I had in my head of that we see. I thought that there's so many beautiful moments that I don't think we would have had as much context into, or had as much emotional kind of weight in if we didn't have the backstory and didn't have Agnes showing the depth and pain that she had to bring this family together, all encompassing, from them just deciding to have a baby so that they can get married because their families were never supposed to be together, to, her giving birth and then giving birth again, and them thinking that she might die in childbirth for the second baby, and then the second baby Judith not being alive initially and miraculously becoming alive.
Can we talk about how quickly that nurse was willing to give up on this baby too?
Well,
you blow in its face a couple of times and you're like, okay, let me take it out.
I'm sure this wasn't the first baby that was stillborn, and so most of them don't wake up.
Well, but this makes me wonder how many of them did.
Yeah. They didn't have any way of doing, just watching that was super hard for me to watch. And then from there, the moment when Hamnet exchanges places with Judith was emotional.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we hadn't had the birth and kind of like the build up to that moment, it wouldn't have hit the same for me. You know, like I feel like that moment was one of the most important moments of the movie, of Hamlet sacrificing himself for his sister, giving up his dreams and his wants for Judith. Because his father asked him to take care of his sisters and his mother and be brave. And him transitioning and or being on stage, like we don't know that he's on stage, but he's on stage and calling out to his mom. God, that was so hard to watch. Like him being brave and then being a child and then recognizing I'm scared, you know? I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know what I've done. And to that same respect, you have Agnes during birth wishing for her mother at the same time, of just crying out, wanting her mom just to comfort her. And then, you know, a few 30 minutes later, we see Hamnet doing the same thing as a young boy. It was I feel like one of the most beautifully done scenes I've seen in a very long time, of like someone passing away. And that trade-off. And I thought Jessie Buckley, her performance of when Hamnet is dying is insane.
Yeah.
Like so believable.
Yeah. And her and Paul Mescal, I don't think that anybody can argue that they're not incredible at their craft. You know, like both of them are so good and they're both great in this. My standout performance for this is actually Hamnet. I believe it's Jacoby Jupe. That kid is good. Like his little facial expressions, he portrayed so much by doing so little, you know?
Well, even like, we only see him for maybe 15 minutes of the movie, 20 minutes of the movie. And just from the initial of him switching places with his sister, to him, you know, sword fighting with his dad, to even just, you know, William Shakespeare leaving and Hamnet coming up, like not wanting his dad to leave, wanting to go and be like his dad, be in plays, like do the things that his dad does in theater. But yet having this strong, resolute, you know, idea of like, okay, like I can do this. I can be brave. Like I eventually will be like my dad. But yeah, like him, and his conversation with Judith when Judith was asleep, you know, and him recognizing, you know, the Grim Reaper or death coming and, making that decision. It was powerful, like super, super powerful. And yeah, to me, that alone, like just that 10 minutes maybe, or 5 minutes alone, like is worthy of an award. Because I haven't seen a movie that has given so much depth, especially with like young actors and everything else. And then, you know, from that scene, we automatically get pulled into Jessie Buckley reacting and emoting like in the way that she does. I mean, there's just so much going on in there, all the way to the payoff of Hamlet, the play. And I'm one of those guys that I literally can't understand anything that is being said in William Shakespeare's plays. But like the emotions were there and I could tell what was happening. And
are you reading my page? Because I got a quote about this.
Oh, do you? I'm not reading. I'm just thinking, but yeah, what's your quote?
Chloe Zhao actually said almost the exact same thing. So she is a Chinese filmmaker. she speaks English, and obviously I listened to an interview with her. She speaks English well.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you can speak Shakespearean, you know? And so she said, I can study it and translate it and understand what it all means. But Paul said to me, listen, if Shakespeare is performed right, you don't have to understand what they're saying. You feel it in the body. The language is written like that. And so in a way, me and I believe she said Lucas, I'm not sure who she was talking about, who also doesn't speak much English. We sat there and we watched Paul's performance, and in a way, we kind of embodied Agnes, who doesn't understand everything, but we feel it. And she says, I think that's the reason why the producers and Maggie O'Farrell, the author of the book, chose me, is because I don't feel that way about William Shakespeare. I don't have the same reverence. I do have reverence intellectually, but I don't have the burden on my shoulders as many people in the West do. So for her, it wasn't necessarily about like hitting every line exactly how it was said or how it was intended to said, but it was more about feeling what was there. And it sounds like for you, it was definitely accomplished.
Oh yeah. Like that play was pretty magical. In the way of we're experiencing it in the way that they experienced it in the 1600s. You know, you just have this group of people go in, and I was like, how important was this in the 16th century for these people that are living lives that I saw a quote the other day where it was like, if you had a hot shower this morning, you have something that no person had 100 years ago. You had a luxury that zero humans on the planet, like no matter who you looked up to, that person that you looked up to and thought was amazing, didn't have the luxury that you had this morning. And looking back at these people and how kind of hard their lives were in the 16th century, you have the plague running through, you know, the towns. You have, you know, these simple lives, like very, very tough. And they come and experience something that takes them out of that life into something magical. And you really saw that as the play went on, you know, like it's going through its acts, and they fall in love with these characters. And you have Agnes, like her first time probably at a play in general, her really experiencing it and seeing her son and recognizing that William Shakespeare was giving her son exactly what he always dreamed of. And it was his version of being able to allow the memory of what was so special about him to carry on. And then we have Hamnet there at the play with both of his parents recognizing him there and seeing that grief of he was kind of stuck in this in between until there was an acceptance of him being gone. And that's what I kind of felt. And both of his parents are going through this at the same time, you know, in its own way. And I thought like when Agnes gets to London and sees how William Shakespeare is living and recognizes that like he's not out here balling it up, sleeping with a bunch of people, you know, like living this luxurious life. Like he is, you know, just honing in his craft and doing what he feels like he needs to do, but then sending all of everything that he can back to his family. They have the biggest house, the biggest whatever, you know, in the city or whatnot. And, but he's living this very, very humble existence, you know, in a hotel, essentially. It was just interesting reveals as it went on, you know, as we get to the climax of the finale of the film.
Yeah. I saw a review last night that said something like, me driving home after watching a movie about a dad driving into or going to work downtown or something like that. Essentially like, I just want to see my kids.
Yeah, it was, that's what I really liked about this is it did show that like William Shakespeare needed to do what he needed to do, but he necessarily didn't want to do what he needed to do. Like he wanted to be with his kids. He wanted to be home. And like, even after Hamnet dies, he's like, I have to leave. He's like, I don't want to leave. I have to leave. And Agnes, like, obviously doesn't understand that. Like, she doesn't think that he has to. But he's like, there's things outside of me that require me.
Yeah.
You know? And it was an interesting pull that you don't really always get from these types of movies where I feel like there's like less understanding on the men's perspective of a story like this, you know, where that act is more demonized than it was in this one. You know, it was more so like there's an understanding there as well.
Yeah, well, especially since she was the one who encouraged him to do it in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. She thought some space would save their marriage, essentially.
Well, I think that she recognized that he was slowly dying in the way of like he has something inside of him that he needs to give to the world. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that is. I know there's something special.
Yeah.
And I have to be a channel that allows that to happen if I want him to be happy and ultimately like our marriage to be happy, you know, like, and you don't really recognize that at the beginning. You know, you see that she's like trying to help him. And I think that's a beautiful sentiment of William in this fictional, you know, idea of William Shakespeare. Like he would not have been who he was without, Agnes. Mm-hmm. Like he wouldn't have had the opportunity that he had without her and without her sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, and he probably never would have got out from underneath his dad's business. Mm-hmm. You know, I feel like that was what gave him the strength or determination to stand up to his dad versus just letting his dad slap him with leather. Couldn't be me.
Well, and I that was super poignant to me too. Like, there's an idea that one day your son will be stronger than you, and it's supposed to be that way, you know. But that moment where he finally was just like, you know what, like I do not have to take this, and like, this will never happen again. Like, I'm allowing this to happen. I am not allowing it anymore, you know, and it's no longer your decision. Like, I'm not a little boy. You can't decide what it is that I do anymore. Like, I'm the one deciding, like, what I want. And I'm choosing at this point to not hurt you.
Well, and then it gave him a complex for a little while in the movie too, because then he started drinking heavily that night and was like, I'm a violent and dangerous man. And she's like, that's not who you are. Like, you can have moments like that and still not have it be who you are. Right. But don't be violent.
Yeah. I don't know. Just us talking about it, there was just, to me, like, I connected with so many parts of the movie. It was kind of like when I saw The Greatest Showman for the first time. Like, The Greatest Showman just spoke to me in so many different ways, and different characters spoke to me in different ways, and hit me and gave me emotions that I wasn't expecting. And I feel like this was a very unexpected. I knew it was going to be emotional. I knew that I was going to feel a lot just from where I'm at in life, but I wasn't expecting it to be as beautiful as it was.
Yeah. And on that note, like the cinematography, the color grading, that all looked great. I thought that it was really, really beautiful in that way. I don't think that it worked for me. Like, it felt to me especially in the beginning with that anxiety inducing sound design. I was uncomfortable the whole movie basically. And then by the time that Hamnet was introduced, I was kind of bored of the movie by that point. I didn't really connect with their love story. I felt like they were both just kind of weirdos. I didn't really connect with their love story. By the time Hamnet came around, I was a little bit bored. He brought it back for me during that point. And then I think I was able to enjoy the last half of it a lot more than I enjoyed the first half. That said, I didn't enjoy it much. It wasn't an enjoyable watch. And I know that that's not really the point of this. Not every movie is meant to make you feel good, right? This movie definitely does not do that. It does not make me feel good. It makes me feel anxious. It makes me feel like a pestilence could come upon me at any point. And it makes me feel like even when somebody gives you permission to do something and says, I think that this is what's right for us, they will still hold it against you as soon as anything goes wrong.
Oh, dude, that's the best lesson this movie could ever give you, because that's real.
Oh, I know. But I'm saying, I think that there's a lot of different reasons for movies, right? Movies are art, and art you don't always have to agree with or enjoy. But I think that it is an expression for Chloe Zhao, Maggie O'Farrell, and all of the actors involved in this. I think that it expresses a lot of what they feel, right? And me being in the position that I'm in and the background that I have, it just isn't what I want out of a movie.
Yeah. I do think that outside of the movie theater, I don't know if I would have had the same feelings that I had inside the movie theater. And that's the magic of being in a movie theater.
Yeah.
Is it allows you, it's just like those people in the theater watching the play.
Yeah.
It allows you to kind of remove yourself from your everyday and get into whatever it is is getting you into. And so I don't know. I think that me watching it again outside the theater, I would probably have not as high of remarks as I have now. But yeah, inside the movie theater, I think that I didn't feel those things. I felt when I left, I didn't feel sad. I felt good. I enjoyed the journey and felt a gratefulness for like what I have. And like a resolve to kind of find moments in my everyday that are like worthy of like remembering, of like, who knows what my last memory of my son could be, like type idea of like, if you're walking into his bedroom and they have that shot of his bedroom, like this can change, this will change, like hopefully, and it changes in a natural regression of like he grows up or we move houses or whatever, and like
make your bed
is done. But like acknowledging that what I'm looking at right now is not forever, and I think that was, I just think that this movie is such a powerful expression of parenthood and the sacrifices that are made like inside of that, especially of her giving birth both times. Watching that, and from me like watching someone give birth to me watching her give birth on the screen, it was freaking realistic. Like the pain and the anxiety and the desperateness of it really came through, which I feel like I haven't watched most any other films where I've felt all those things that you feel like in the moment. But I can definitely see what you're saying, and I can definitely see the feeling, because the first half, up to the children being born, it does feel slow. It feels drawn out. It feels not super useful, but I think that it definitely like adds to Agnes herself, because I feel like that's all that we're trying to really establish is Agnes and her journey of figuring out how to let her son let his memory kind of move on.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about art. Yeah. Not every piece is for every person, right? And good art, I think, allows the audience to see it and make their own or take away from it the things that are important to them, right? And so for you, it was a beautiful thing. For me, it was anxiety. And both of those things I think are valid. Yeah. And both of those things are probably things that they kind of intended.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I definitely see it. I think that it definitely is going to hit people. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is that it's definitely going to make you feel something.
Yeah.
It's not like a dead movie in the way of, I don't really care what I felt.
Yeah.
Like it felt like a waste of time. I feel like this movie, to me, just if you're looking at it through the lens of it being a piece of art, like it's a piece of art that to me is worth looking at. But then you go to museums all the time, and I look at pieces on the wall and I'm just like, who sees anything in this?
And then right next to it, you see one and you're like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
This smiley face is next level. And then you like the Mona Lisa, you're like, nah, this is...
She's not even smiling.
This is ridiculous. Who thinks this is good? Would a 5-year-old do this?
Oh, man. Don't.
Well, sweet. Well, let's rate this thing. You wanna start?
Yeah. I do have just a few more things to say.
Okay.
So Paul Mescal, obviously we know him from Gladiator 2, right?
Which didn't like him in Gladiator 2.
You didn't like him. I saw it 3 times in theaters.
Did you want to see it in 3 times?
Not really, but did I? I did. What most people may not know is that he's also known for a Phoebe Bridgers music video for her song Savior Complex, which I watched this morning as I was perusing his IMDb. His mother in the movie, Mary, is played by Emily Watson, who, while watching it, I thought that she was Dolores Umbridge from Harry Potter.
Uh-huh.
Wrong.
Yeah.
She is the main female lead from Punch Drunk Love with Adam Sandler, which is a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, and honestly, one of my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movies. And that's all I got to say. Oh, also, Chloe Zhao, you may know her from directing The Eternals.
If you saw that.
If you saw it. And also Nomadland. I don't know if you've seen that.
Mm-mm.
That one is highly acclaimed, but The Eternals.
The Eternals.
She does a lot of strange movies. Like she does not stick to a genre, which is cool. In one of the interviews I was listening to, she was talking about how she had only watched 2.5 Westerns before directing a Western.
Which, I feel like there's probably something to that where you're just looking at it objectively
and fresh eyes. Yeah.
It's like looking at a puzzle upside down, to put it together.
The accountant. Yeah. So, I don't know. She's an interesting director. This one didn't really land for me that much, but there are a lot of things like we talked about that I see a lot of merit in. The cinematography was great. The color grading, I liked how they had her wearing that like a red dress among the green shrubs and everything.
Yeah, because she was just supposed to be eclectic, like
she stands out
individualistic
in every situation, right? Whereas every other character is mostly wearing like muted colors the whole movie. So there are a lot of cool things that I think that they did. I normally don't have a problem with Shakespeare language. It just didn't really land for me that much. I know that Paul Mescal really, really likes Shakespeare and is very passionate about him. And I feel like that came through in this. For me, I'm going to give it a 2.5 because there are so many good things about it. But for me, it was so unenjoyable.
I can respect your opinion.
As he pulls his hand out from behind it.
The accumulation of this movie came together in such a way that I found myself enjoying every part of it as I look back at every part of it. As I was watching it, there were certain parts where I could have done away with, but at the end of the movie, where the guy playing Hamlet has his arms out and everyone's reaching out to him, and him kind of soaking in the last moments of life from his character and dying on stage, I was like, that was beautiful. And then you have Hamnet going backstage. And all that coming together, and how everything felt just so real and cohesive. I'm going to give this a 4.8.
Wow. Not a 5 though.
I feel like I have a little bit of bias.
Hey, you give it whatever you feel like.
I don't know if it's perfect. And like I said, I feel like I probably would have to watch it at home to give it a 5. I think I would have to watch it again at home and see if I pulled out everything that I pulled out when I was in the theaters the same way. Because I feel like a 5, no matter where you watch it, you're going to get sucked in and you're going to enjoy every moment of it.
It's got to have rewatchability.
Yeah. And it's got to be a 5 every single time you watch it. I don't think that this will be a 5 the next time I watch it. I think it will still be very high. I think that it will connect with me in different ways. I think it will always be above a 4.5 in my mind, but I can't give it a 5 because I think that when I watch it again, it's not going to have the same impact that it had when I very first watched it, which, to the credit of the trailer, I feel like that helped. I feel like my expectations were kind of destroyed. And so I was kind of an open slate at the beginning.
When you're saying the trailer, what do you mean about the trailer?
So the trailer kind of talking about Hamnet dying and the movie being about the processing of grief of Hamnet. And then you have, at the very beginning, you're just like, there is no Hamnet. It seems like we're really far away.
You're an hour into it and you're like, where's Hamnet?
Yeah, we're really far away. And so I feel like that I accepted that and allowed it to open up of this movie isn't what I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
And maybe on a different day I would have been more shut down to that. But on this particular day, I was like, okay, show me what this movie is about then, and so I was able to kind of open up and see the movie for the first time outside of the trailer.
I think what you're saying is spot on. I had to keep on telling myself throughout that first hour, be open-minded. Just wait for it. It'll come around, you know? And I think that that's why when I notice myself thinking that, that's when I'm like, oh, I'm not liking this. You know? As far as watching it at home, I also had the thought upon leaving the theater, I could not watch that at home. I'd switch it to something different within the first 15 minutes.
Joyful.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like The Whale.
Which I still haven't seen.
Yeah. Like The Whale, I've watched in theaters and I watched it at home. And it's hard to watch at home because it's so deeply emotional that you're just like, man, this is bringing me down.
Yeah. So we had different experiences with the movie, but overall, I think we both had positive things to say about aspects of it, at least.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with the general public, like what side of that spectrum they fall on. I haven't really looked up any other reviews. I haven't really looked up IMDb to see what other people are saying, because I kind of wanted to keep my thoughts pure in what I felt, and not be swayed by, looking at someone else's review and then pointing out something that I kind of agree with.
And then you don't like it as much.
Yeah. And so I'm excited to kind of go into that now after we've done the podcast and look more into what other people are saying, what, some critics are saying, and kind of what the movie world, as far as awards and stuff, go into with this one, because I feel like it's going to be one that receives awards.
Definitely. And from what I'm seeing online and from critics, everyone thinks like you. I had to go on a search to find somebody who thought the same way as I did. And they were much more brutal than I am. But most people, it's like a 9 or a 10 or a 4 or 5 for them. Like most people really enjoyed it. And so I'm not saying that, what I'm saying is I see what they did.
What was the movie that we reviewed where I was saying the exact same thing?
and I'm doing it for a reason.
And you were making fun of me because I was like,
still making fun of you.
I'm acknowledging what they did. I see what they did. I saw through it and I didn't like it.
Yes. And the reason I'm saying that is to continue to make fun of you.
Yeah, whatever.
No, I acknowledge, I think that there's a lot of great things about this movie. It didn't land for me. And that's fine.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, I think that like your experience is completely valid. I can understand why you feel the way that you feel about it.
Yeah.
And who knows? I think that like on a different day, feeling a different way, I could have had the exact same, experience with that movie. I do think that sometimes our personal lives and or things that are happening that day and or whatever totally influence like how we interpret or experience something in the moment, like the wind and the heartbeat and everything else. Like it felt natural and felt right in the moment, and to you it was anxiety making, and
maybe that's just what happens when there are kids around. You feel happy, I feel anxious. I don't know.
Yeah, you see things a little bit differently, or I don't know. Like, there's a lot that changes for sure.
Yeah.
Well, this was a long one. Let us know what your feelings are. And let us know what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. Let us know where you agree with Toast and where you agree with me. And also where you don't. Tell us how we're wrong. Usually we get people that tell us how wrong we are.
We do get that.
But yeah. we will catch you in the next one.